Good morning, beautiful people of the Center for Spiritual Living. Today is Veterans Day. Our president on the 7th of November made a proclamation for this day, and I'm going to read parts of the proclamation for you. Because it's quite lengthy, I'm going to extract the parts that will help us respond to his request. Our veterans are part of an unbroken chain of men and women who have served our country with honor and distinction. On Veterans Day, we show them our deepest thanks. And their legacy affirms that no matter what confronts us or what trials we face, there is no challenge we cannot overcome, and our best days are still ahead. Even after veterans take off the uniform, they never stop serving. Many apply the skills and experience developed to a life of service here at home. They take on roles in their communities as doctors and police officers, engineers and entrepreneurs, mothers and fathers. As a grateful nation, it is our task to make that transition possible. On days like this, we are called to reflect on immeasurable burdens that have been borne by so few. We also remember that our commitment to those who have served are commitments that we must honor not only on Veterans Day, but every day. Therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2012 as Veterans Day. I encourage all Americans to recognize the valor and sacrifice of our veterans through appropriate public ceremonies and private prayers. I call on all Americans, including civic and fraternal organizations, places of worship, schools, and communities to support this day with commemorative expressions and programs. So in response to the President's request, I invite you now, if you are a veteran, to please stand so that we can acknowledge your service. I like our president. You see, I can say that after the election, but not before. It's not permitted. It's not permitted. It would be improper. But I do like him. It is appropriate today on Veterans Day, after reading the proclamation of our president, that our topic should be the declaration. The declaration, what that refers to in specific, is a style of prayer, and we've been talking about that. And we can understand what is meant by this style of prayer, declaration, just by the meaning of the word. Because a declaration is an explicit announcement. Formal but clear. It's stating the facts, even in an assertive way. That's the style of our prayer. Our prayer is the creative use of our own mind, but it's in a specific way, not wishy-washy. Clear. Declaring what we understand to be the truth in such a way that our own mind can accept it and not reject it. Now, this is the season for Thanksgiving, and so on our minds, probably and soon will be, especially since our Thanksgiving Eve service is coming up, on our minds is the gratitude that we feel for the things that we appreciate in life, and as it should be, and how appreciation raises those things in our esteem and value. That's appropriate. Now, in prayer, the feeling of gratitude is important in a different way. It's that feeling of it's the heart recognition, the welcoming, the taking in, the appreciation. It's a little different to the expression of gratitude in social settings, in social conventions. You know, please and thank you has its role in society. Gratitude is a little different animal in prayer. It's a feeling tone. So today we're going to take a look at some well-known traditional prayers to get an idea of what role saying please and thank you might play in prayer. So I brought one along that you might be familiar with. It's a modern rendition. And so won't you read it with me? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we also have forgiven our trespassers. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So the first thing I would like to draw to your attention is that there is no please in that prayer, and there is no thank you. Certainly there is an attitude of receptivity and celebration, I'm certain, and it's not meant with any disrespect on behalf of the person who gave us this prayer or by the one praying the prayer. It's merely a statement of clarity. Your will be done. You see the words be, give, lead, come, let. That's the command form, the imperative in English. Of course, in society, there's a polite version. Please, be seated. I mean, if it pleases you, be seated. I won't stop you. But it's still the imperative. That's why I say, be well. If it pleases you, I won't stop you. Let it be done. Make it so, says the captain. Come, your kingdom. Or an example, long live the Queen. Or as you hear at the end of the prayer, and so it is. It's no argument. It's a declaration. So it's not please. It's more a feeling of gratitude out of that sureness arises all by itself. Now, the person who gave us this prayer, Jesus of Nazareth, he was no stranger to gratitude and saying thank you. In fact, in the story where he is raising Lazarus, the dead man, raising him up to life again, which I take to be a metaphor, and each person is entitled to their own opinion. But in John 2, at that moment when he is about to raise Lazarus, he lifts up his eyes to the heaven and he says, Father, I do give thee thanks that thou hearest me always. And I know that you do. But I'm saying this on account of these people standing here watching, so that they will know my relationship with you and that I'm from you. You see, he didn't need to say thank you for what is already given, but no harm done. And then, and it says, when he had said this, he cried, declared, with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. He didn't say, please. It was a definite statement. It's a metaphor for us. It's very definite and precise. As we might say, I'm alive. There's no argument. And sometimes in our definite statements, we're working towards definite. Like I might say, my mind is the center of divine creativity. I might have to say it a few times to get there. Or I might say, I love easily and effortlessly. And now I need to start every morning fresh with that one. Yeah? Or I might say, I'm a generous listener. And in so doing, I might notice when I'm not. But it's a statement, which is why I follow it with, and so it is. Not asking. And you know, when Jesus gave the world this prayer, he said, pray in this way. In this way means in this style. Not use those exact words necessarily. Meditate on the words. Make them my own. Use substitutes. Because you see, the power is not in the words or the formula. The power is in the meaning in my mind and heart, my understanding, my consciousness. So I am to go in that way, in that style. So our Father, well, what is that? Well, the power that governs the universe, that one indestructible, self-existent cause. You might say Mother, Father. Father is a symbol for the first cause, the generator, the starting point, in the beginning, the infinite presence. You know, you choose something like that. And so you might start by changing the prayer this way. Read the first line with me. Infinite presence, who art in heaven. That is the first line, isn't it? Well, let's talk about this part that's coming up a little bit next. Who art in heaven. Well, Jesus gave us some clues. He said the kingdom of heaven is within. It's a state of consciousness. So I might want to change that to bring it a little closer, lest I think I'm talking about life after life. Lest I'm thinking about a place somewhere with streets of gold, let me bring it personal and say it's a state of consciousness. So I might change it to this: infinite presence within. Now I'm starting to get into the groove. Let's look at the phrase, your name. We'll just skip ahead a little bit because name is the same as your nature. Many times in the Bible, when a significant change in nature occurs, the name of the character changes also. Right. So when you say, do it in my name, it's like saying, do it the way I would do it, or do it with my authority, or do it as if you're acting on my behalf. So name can be your authority, or it could be your nature. And so you can play with that. You might try this. Hallowed be your nature. Now we can do that whole first line. Let's do that together. Infinite presence within, hallowed be your nature. And hallowed means holy, sacred, set aside. And to us, that means whole. And think of the first principle of our teaching. Oneness. Wholeness. That's the starting point of our teaching. Everything comes from that. We're talking about the indivisible, self-existent cause that nothing started, that cannot be divided, that is everywhere present. So oneness is a good word to describe its nature if we were going to use that as a term. So we might do it like this. Infinite presence within, your nature is oneness or wholeness, or completeness, or all-encompassing, or everywhere presentness. We know the one is beyond all natures, but we're pointing in the direction. Now let's skip to your will be done, because that upsets people sometimes. Right? What do you mean? You're going to tell me what to do? But think of the will of God as this: the way things are, reality. Or think of it like this, that this universe is governed by spiritual laws to which there are no exemptions. The government of spiritual law. Work against it, see what happens. You see, so I might use that will of God and talk about the government of spiritual law instead. That's one way I could do it. I could change that by saying, you govern. Now I know what it means to me. Then we have to deal with on earth as it is in heaven. We talked about this several weeks ago when we were studying the law of correspondence, and we said that describes how the outer reflects the inner. As it is on the outside somehow has got something to do with as it is on the inside. It's another way of talking about how consciousness is cause, and how it happens in my consciousness, that's how it happens in my actions too. So I might even think of the phrase, you govern my thoughts and my deeds, because they're going to be matching. See, I'm not asking for anything. Just in this prayer, I'm attempting to describe the way it is, so I can be on target with it. You govern my thoughts and deeds. Now, what's governing my thoughts and deeds? The kingdom. Now, we already heard that the kingdom of heaven is within. It's a consciousness. But when we talk about the consciousness of God, wow, we're talking about pure knowing, the oversoul, the thing itself. God's consciousness, and when I meditate on that, it governs my thoughts and my actions are affected, and then the inside's the same as the outside. So there we get the first part of the prayer. Won't you read it with me? Infinite presence within, your nature is oneness. The consciousness of your presence governs me in both my thoughts and deeds. And then for the rest of the prayer, all we need to do is insert the phrase, and as a result, everything else in the prayer happens. Right? That's right. As a result, I have everything I need for every moment. Daily means not too little, not too much. It's a reference to the enoughness of life. Sufficiency in whatever is before us. Wow. And bread means everything. And in the same way, the next part, and I'm forgiven in the same way that I forgive. It's a reminder again of that phrase, on earth as it is in heaven. Same thing. You see, the key is the word as. As we. In the style in which I forgive, that's the way in which I'm forgiven. It's not something for nothing. Forgive me, but let me hold grudges. Right? It's collaborative. So I've got my part in it to play. So I would say, I would change that around a bit. And I'm forgiven in the way that I forgive. And then the final word, so naturally, deliver us from evil, lead me not into temptation. Naturally, I'm going to live my life with integrity. I'm going to walk the middle path. Because already it says in the Bible, all things are possible, but not all things are advisable. Isn't that right? Yes. That's right. So spiritually speaking, in the spiritual realm, there's only good, only one. In the social realm, on this earth plane, as we interact with each other, there's polarities. Good and bad, up and down. Good and evil, you could say. And character is built by remembering to choose between them out of the infinite possibilities that are before us. So we might have a prayer that looks something like this. Won't you read it with me, even though it could be adjusted further? Infinite presence within. Your nature is oneness. The consciousness of your presence governs me in both my thoughts and deeds. And so all my needs are provided for. And I forgive in the same way that I am forgiven. And I live my life with integrity. Now here's another example of a declaration-style prayer, one that you may know very well. Won't you read it with me? Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Again, no please and no thank you. There is no begging involved. It's declaring the path from this moment forward, like I might start every morning. Start afresh. The next part of the prayer goes like this. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Now, granted, the word grant is used over here, which means allow me to. I see that. But it's still declaring the path. I'm thinking about going to Oliver's afterwards and going to the deli and saying, make me a cheese sandwich or give me a salad. I fully expect follow through. Now, in the social setting, it's appropriate to say thank you and please. So let me think of a different example. Or a paramedic arrives at the scene of an emergency and says, let me through here. It's not a request. Politeness isn't actually necessary, may not even be appropriate, may not be expedient in this situation. In fact, what she is doing is just claiming what is hers. Passage is hers. Make way. Definite. Another example from a well-known song, we'll sing it today. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me, is definite. Later on in the song, it says it again. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now, every time I start again. Now, with every step, I'm trying to get it clear in my own consciousness. This is my solemn, serious promise to myself now. No, please. No, thank you. Although the tremendous joy that rises up when you get clear on it, sense of acceptance and happiness, gratitude. It's a declaration. Let me through to peace. Let there be peace. I won't stop it. Let is the command form. Let him speak. Let there be light. And there was. You see, the consequence of declaration is manifestation. Or from another culture, we could say. And for those of you who took the Upanishads class, or who were at the chant service on the fifth Wednesday, you ought to know this because we sang it 108 times in Sanskrit. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotiye gamaya, however else it goes. Mrityurma amritam gamaya. You thought I didn't know. But it's, oh, I got the wrong one. It's this one over here. There we go. Yeah, it goes like this. From ignorance, lead me to truth. From darkness, lead me to light. From death, lead me to immortality. Peace, peace, peace. Or the song that we sang at the beginning of the service, pour yourself in me. Pour yourself in me, I won't stop it. Go ahead. No, please. No, thank you. It's not that there's any, it's just the gift is already given, as the master teacher indicated. It's just, you're just using what's your right to use. My prayer is the use of my mind for that purpose. You know, when I came to America, well, first of all, I came from a culture that was very polite. So it was a bit of a shock for me to come to America. You know, when I had guests and I would offer them a cup of coffee, would you like a cup of coffee? And they would answer, sure. I was startled. I was expecting more. I was expecting, yes, please, thank you very much. It's a formula. You have to say it, and if you don't say it, you don't get the coffee. Right? So it was so good for me to come to America and hear sure to separate that formula and attaching it to the answered prayer with what prayer is actually about. Of course, it's polite and wonderful to say, yeah, but the relationship is so intimate that I think of the universe saying, sure. That's the relationship. Just using what's mine to use. So, you know, it's no pleading. Even in the Sanskrit one, there's no bargaining, no tension, no self-effacing, no saying how worthless I am, no describing the problem, no moaning, no kvetching. Just a declaration. The path from this moment on is this. And Ernest Holmes, our founder, said, our prayer form ought to be like this, in this style. It's not a request, it's a declaration. Think of it as a proclamation. It's a knowing, a claiming, or an accepting. And at the back of the textbook, there are examples. Won't you read this one with me? Whatever I need comes to me from the all-good. Divine intelligence working through me always knows just what I need and always supplies it when I need it. I receive my good daily as I go along the pathway of life, and I cannot be robbed of my birthright to freedom and happiness. It's kind of like all the other prayers we've been saying with other words. And then we are invited to do the same with these words, not to get stuck on those particular words, but to make them our own. Like at the back of the book we're reading, A New Design for Living, there are examples of prayers, but I might be tempted to think that the power is in these word examples. It's not. It's in my understanding and acceptance and consciousness. So I might as well say it in my own way, so that no part of my mind rejects it, so that no part of my mind is going, I hope. So I might have to work up to there and build my faith, build my acceptance, declare myself into openness. You know, next week, we're going to talk about the answer to this question. Well, Edward, but what if I want a job? Or what if I'm not feeling well? How do I pray for work? How do I pray to feel well? Well, we're going to talk about that. Because next week, the topic is unlimited applications. And we are going to explore that further and discuss in particular what is okay to pray for and what is not okay to pray for. Who knew that there are ethics, spiritual ethics, when it comes to prayer? I guarantee you. And ignorance of the law, right? Let us pray. I am willing to abandon myself to the genius of the universe. To me, that means I'm in agreement with going with the flow of that mind that is endlessly creating newness out of itself, the center of divine activity. I'm going with that. And in so doing, I build a solid foundation of a joyful life. And as I go with the flow, I'm not lost. I become stronger in my awareness of joy. Its origin is in me because that's where the center of God is. I live in a spiritual universe. To me, it means wherever I am, that's where spirit is. Whatever I'm doing, I have the possibility of understanding it, appreciating it, and engaging it in a way that I call spiritual. And there is one creative source of all things. And so it is that I look to that one for everything. And I declare that my good, my well-being, my understanding, my love depends on no person, on no thing, on no institution, on no nothing, but that which is the supremacy of all things, God within me. And as I pray in this way, there rises up in me a tremendous gratitude for this awareness, so that I can say with surety, and so it is. I invite you to breathe in with me and sigh.